Hey, good morning, everybody. Video 44 coming at you in another video. All right, so we're talking NBA basketball. These are my playoff thoughts on Utah Jazz and the Dallas Mavericks Game 6. Game's going to be headed back to, where is this thing headed? Dallas, I believe. Hard to keep up, to be honest with you. The last game was in Dallas because my sister was there, so this game's going to be in Utah. Got it. All right. Had to sort my thoughts there. My sister was actually at the game against the Utah Jazz and the Mavericks in Dallas, and believe it or not, that was the only good thing about the game. The fact that I had a family member in the building. That's it. Everything else was horrible. Oh, and Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson was solid, and a bunch of the Mavericks, of course, played well individually. But honestly, the game was hard to watch because the Utah Jazz only put up 77 points. Bogdanovich had an offer. You got Donovan Mitchell only accomplished 4 made field goals. You didn't get a whole lot out of anybody, really. Royce O'Neal was nowhere to be found. Mike Conley's been doing a whole lot of nothing all series long. It's just a Utah team that's outdated in terms of their style of play. I think the team knows that. I think they're all over it, and I think they're ready to go home. But I think that they found something in a couple games because Dallas kind of took their foot off the gas, if you ask me. The first game, obviously, they had their issue because they were adjusting to the fact that Luka wasn't there. The other game they lost was the game that they brought Luka back, trying to get him in rhythm, and kind of just punted the game, basically took everybody else out of rhythm. But other than that, this series should have been over a long time ago. And I'm disappointed in myself for picking Utah in 6. But Utah in 7 still on the table. But I just don't like the Utah Jazz style of play. They haven't been able to throw a rock in the ocean. They were 3 for 30 3-point shots in the last game. That'll tell you right there all you need to know. And then they don't play the defense they need to play on a consistent basis. They played defense in game 4, but that's about the only time we've seen them play any defense in this series. So I'm expecting the Utah Jazz to go home. I got them in the mail it in category of teams that just isn't interested in doing anything at this point because they already have the bags packed and they're playing set. I think that about the Utah Jazz. I don't think they plan on playing any more basketball. I don't think most of these players are going to be back for that team next year. I think Dwayne Wade and Danny Ainge have every intention of blowing it up, and I think most of NBA Nation believes they should. I don't know how the Utah Jazz fans feel, but for you, I wish for you better because that team ain't it. So, Rudy Gobert, they're having a hard time guarding the three-point line. There's been no adjustment made from Quinn Snyder in regards to that. We've seen that story across the playoffs. Teams that aren't making adjustments are going home. Quinn Snyder needs to make the adjustment to remove Rudy Gay from the game and a matchup to what Jason Kidd is doing, which is going small ball. Now, you guys know I loathe small ball, but if I were a Utah Jazz fan, the most important thing for them to do is to be able to, as I like to say, morph out of their style of play. And the style of play that they have is Rudy Gobert stays in there, does what it is that he does, and they shoot threes at a high clip. That's supposed to be Utah's way, but since they're shooting threes and they're not falling and their defense is falling off, they're pretty much a team that doesn't really have much of an identity right now. The identity I can figure out that they have is as long as they are able to, keep the other teams. If the other team isn't shooting the 3 ball very well, they should be okay. As Utah can do a lot of things on the inside with Rudy. They got some slashers like, Donovan and obviously Clarkson that's going to put points on the board and give them a style of play that allows them to at least not stay in the half court 100% of the time. If they remove the center from the play, maybe go with a small ball of Pascal and Royce O'Neal or something like that, maybe that gives them a bit more perimeter presence possibly. Maybe that can help them a little bit on the perimeter. I do not know. But it's the kind of thing that they've needed to adjust to, and they haven't. So, to me, this is just a team this should be gone already. That Dallas is going to have to take care of business tonight, not just because it's their responsibility to take care of business, but because nobody wants to see any more of this series. This is the most least entertaining series probably ever, maybe ever. Like in terms of on paper, they've actually exceeded our expectations as it pertains to watching them run around. They have. I mean, last game was what you expected from this series based on Utah just not showing up. But all in all, you have 6 games here, and these two teams have given you their all. Like I said, the Utah Jazz just don't have a style of play that anyone would believe in and because of it, they're not winning. I just don't think everybody's got the right. Uh, I don't think people want to move forward. I think if people desired to move forward with what the Utah Jazz are doing, I think we'd see a better Utah Jazz team. But the fact of the matter is they're not adjusting out of things, and I think it's because they're ready to go home. Keep it real. I think they're ready to stop this process. So as far as Dallas is concerned, you got to give credit to Jalen Brunson, who's averaged 28 points in this series, which is excellent. Like I said in the previous video, he's found a sweet spot that he's able to operate from in the paint that no one seemed to be able to figure out. And, he's going to continue to do that. So I expect great things from him. Obviously, Luka Doncic is back. He's 100%, so he's going to do amazing things. That's Luka. You know how I am when it comes to superstars. Set them aside for all of their greatness, because that's what I think of greatness. It's not to be focused in on because it's reliable, it's consistent, and it doesn't require anything. Do you see what I'm saying? I think we, society, kind of view greatness backwards. Greatness doesn't need our attention. It's the other guys that need your attention. They need your motivation. They need your attention. They need you to motivate them, teach them, and all. Greatness woke up out of bed ready to do whatever it needs to do to defeat whatever's on the other side. It's the pieces around them that need to be catered to in order for those superstars to be able to do their jobs. So that's how I view it. A lot of people want to sit up and they talk about the superstars only. For what? They require nothing. They got this. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're cool. What about the other guys? And so that's how I look at the game. The other guys are Dorian Finney-Smith. He's been playing well all season long. He's going to have a huge role in these playoffs, assuming the Dallas Mavericks move forward. They're going to need him to close this season out, above all else, healthy. Like, literally healthy. Because of all the players on their team besides Luka Doncic, I think he's the one guy that if they remove him from their lineup, they're going to have some real problems defensively. Now, offensively, they're going to be able to do whatever because Luka and Jalen got that. But defensively, they're a really good team. And for me, that defense is spearheaded by the Swiss Army knife that is Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, he ain't the only one, because Reggie Bullock's been playing some excellent defense. You've seen good defense out of their entire team. And they can lock people up, and they do a damn good job doing it. Dwight Powell, those guys do their job on the D side of the things. But for me, Dorian Finney-Smith getting out in the passing lanes, being the long, wingy defender that everybody covets right now, he can shoot the three. That guy, if he steps into his own, the Dallas Mavericks are a team that's difficult to beat for sure. Now you're looking at a team that has a three-headed monster instead of two right now. With respects to Spencer Dinwiddie, who has disappeared. Spencer Dinwiddie, you're gonna have to find a way to be productive when Luka Doncic is on the floor. You are on the Dallas Mavericks. If you can't eat while Jalen and Luka on the floor, you're obsolete. You can't help your team. So what Jason Kidd is gonna have to figure out is how to best utilize him. And I think the only way to do that is to keep him out of lineups where those two are in it. And the problem is those two play 40 plus minutes, it seems, a game. Probably not 40, but most of the games. So trying to find a niche for Spencer Dinwiddie is difficult, but it's essential, because if you don't get the most out of him, you're not getting the most out of the Mavericks. So he's going to have to step his game up, and Jason Kidd's going to have to assist him with that. I want to see more out of Maxi Kleber and the other shooter. I always have this issue with the names, but they're going to have to get more out of their shooters in this particular game, just in case Utah continues to leave the three-point shot open. It's going to be important for the Klebers and the other shooters, the Bullocks, to get those shots up and keep them down. You know what I mean? That's going to be your saving grace tonight in Utah, because at the end of the day, the Utah Jazz are ready to go home, and they're not going to guard that perimeter. They're just not. They've proven that, just like the Bulls. So that's what I expect to see. A team that's ready to go home should be going home. I know the game is in their house. This could extend to 7. The series won't end, even though everybody wants it to. So it seems like poetic justice that it does go to 7. I wouldn't completely rule that out, but I just feel like Dallas has their number. And I'll tell you something like this. If Dallas lose this game, suddenly I don't really love them in the Game 7. Because if you couldn't take care of business against a team where you're supposed to schematically destroy them, after schematically destroying them in Game 5, that just tells me that you couldn't repeat the same thing that you just did. And if that's the case, you can't repeat what you just did in Game 6. You're going to definitely have a hard time repeating it in Game 7. So this is a must-win for both teams tonight. Obviously, Dallas doesn't have their back against the wall necessarily. But from a psychological standpoint, you got to do away with a team that's pretty much not supposed to be here. You know, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, if you call yourself a contender, if you think you have any shot at beating the Suns or the Pellies, whoever comes out of the next round, probably the Suns, then you need to wake up and execute. You know, no more dropped games in this series. In my opinion, you gave Utah games. That's not something you can do in a COVID protocol year. You do not want to do that. So I expect Dallas to be attentive tonight. I expect them to have a hard-fought game. I don't expect this to be a blowout like the last one. Utah's fighting for their lives. I think they'll put up a better effort than we saw in that last game. Donovan Mitchell and those guys. The thing about Donovan is he's dealing with his hamstring. And even though it said there's no structural damage at all in the MRI, at the end of the day, his team did fizzle out in the last game. You don't know how guys feel about playing in a game where, you know, Cancun is probably already something on their mind. A guy like Donovan Mitchell, when he first pulled up with that injury, my first thing was, yeah, he's probably mailing it in. I'm just going to be real. I personally thought he was faking the injury because it makes sense to do so. It's over. Like, literally, that situation is over. They're relying upon him to do too much in a futile situation. They're not schematically built to beat anybody. So a guy like Donovan Mitchell probably like, man, I am sick of this. I don't want to do this no more. Why are we still playing games with this team? I'm down by 100. My hamstring hurts, and I'm going to Cancun. So I don't know if that's what Donovan's going to do. Maybe he plays tonight. But my gut tells me we don't see him tonight. Utah is over. And I don't think we see him in Utah anymore unless he's the only one left. Because if they don't blow that team up and cater it to his style of play and bring him back to this nonsense next year, it's just another wasted season for Donovan Mitchell. So I don't expect that. Nor do I think he's the type of guy who's going to just up and fake an injury all the time. I just feel like this is a logical circumstance for a young athlete who doesn't want to waste any more of his prime. You figure if he goes out, busts his knee tonight, and is out for the rest of the season for this team, nah. So at some point, it's called a preventative measure. So if he is faking this injury, I don't support faking injuries. But removing yourself from situations where you otherwise know, I don't have it, I don't want to compete, for whatever reason, I support that. Because if you're not going to bring it, don't show up. So that's always going to be my motto. At any rate, that's what I expect to see. The Utah Jazz not show up and lose. I mean, well, I do expect them to compete, but I expect them to go home. Because I don't expect any adjustments to be made, and I think Dallas has the understanding of what they need to do, and I expect them to do it. So Dallas shooting threes is going to get it done. BDF44 is here speaking to you saying thank you for hitting me up and enjoy the game. Peace.